Hi, I'm Sister Kathy Persson, Vocation Director for the Benedictine Sisters of Virginia in Bristow. Welcome to Benedictine Bytes, where I get to introduce sisters who are willing to share some part of their vocation story with us. You know, I've noticed that each call from God is unique and personal. God knows us and calls us by name, and in a way to which we can always relate. For me, I heard God connect with a longing and frustration in my heart. Today, we will hear a particular way God spoke and moved Sister Mary Clark to say yes, because just one yes puts us on the path to God. Hey, Sister Mary, thank you so much for being willing to do this with us.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
I'm sure many of our listeners are eager to learn how you became a Benedictine sister here in Bristow, Virginia. Anything unique about your vocation call that you could share with us?
Well, I think, unlike many of the sisters who came when they were much younger, I was a little older when I came to the monastery. God led me down quite a different path before I got here. I'm a lifelong Catholic, but I grew up in a time when we feared God more than we really loved God, and so I never really had that personal relationship with Jesus that so many people have today. Then about 15 years ago, I had a real traumatic experience in my life, and fortunately, Jesus kind of stepped in, and I think when you're in that kind of a position, you tend to listen better when you're at a vulnerable point in your life. And so Jesus was able to come in, and I had a very deep conversion experience, and I fell madly in love, and I had a budding personal relationship with him. But as I was going through all of that, I was like, well, what am I supposed to do with this now?
What happened after that?
Well, through an interesting series of events, God incidences, as I'm sure we would call them, I wound up visiting this monastery, and wouldn't you know it, one of the sisters comes up to me and she says, "Hi, I'm the Vocation Director." And all I could think of was, no, you've got to be kidding. My heart did the flip-flops and my jaw hit the, and I thought, now, Lord? But I ended up meeting with her, and we started the discernment process.
Were there any bumps along the way, Sister Mary, or was it really smooth sailing all the way?
Oh, for sure, there were lots of bumps. In fact, that narrow way that Jesus and St. Benedict talk about has lots of twists and turns in it. And while I was discerning, I decided that I was so full of zeal that I knew a little bit better than Jesus did where I needed to be. So I checked out another monastery that was a little more contemplative. And Jesus patiently waited. But finally, I realized I had a monastic heart and that God had put me where I was supposed to be. And then when I was preparing for my postulancy, I'd done the live-in program, my house wouldn't sell. And so I couldn't become a postulant until I didn't own anything. So anyway, I spent a lot of late nights in the Blessed Sacrament Chapel trying to figure out, things hadn't been going well. Well, do you want me or not, Lord?
Well, obviously he did, so then what happened?
Well, yes, after a couple of months, after my original entry date, the house did sell. And several months after that, I was able to do my postulancy. And one of the sisters on the formation team asked me, so what did you learn from this experience?
And what did you learn from this experience?
Well, I learned two things. I learned that I could be real with the Lord. All those late night Blessed Sacrament Chapel visits taught me that just like the psalmists do in our offices, I could have a lot of raw emotion. It brought us closer together rather than pushing us apart, which I thought was great. And the second part of it was because I was in a spiritual honeymoon, I was waiting, I was trying to direct what was happening, and the Lord said, no, it's my time when we're doing this. I waited for you all those years. Don't you think you could wait a couple of extra months for me? I think maybe he wanted to make sure that I was in it for the long haul, that I really was wanting to follow him through thick and through thin, for better or for worse.
Mm-hmm. So that was your story, that the Lord... You waited for the Lord, and then the Lord said, oh, you can wait for me. Thank you so much for sharing with us. That was really wonderful. And I'm sure it will help other people in their discernment process as well. Because, there are times of waiting that can frustrate us. And while we find ourselves impatient for the waiting to be over, it can get very, very difficult. I think the entire world right now is feeling this waiting and waiting as we live with this pandemic. So like Sister Mary, there are times when we have to look to God for the patience and understanding we need to continue to live fully while we're waiting. Sister Mary, you got to wait to enter our community. At the end of this month, we will be waiting again as we enter with the entire church into the season of Advent. This is a period of waiting and preparing for the coming of Jesus at Christmas. We're all readying our hearts to celebrate the birth of our Savior, the one who brings us hope in times of trial. Just one yes can be a way of preparing for Christ. Sister Mary's one yes got her on the road. I'm sure she's had to say yes many more times since then. To what is Christ calling you? Are you getting ready? Can you say one yes to our God who created us and loves us all the time? Thank you, Sister Mary, for saying yes. God bless.